Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden, and before we dive in, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this on your Facebook page. Okay, we have a massive storm rolling in, as you can see by the wind, and we are going to have multiple days of rain. So Jeff and I are out here trying to get a garden tour in before everything gets wrecked by the rain. This is part 2 of the tour. We already did a part 1, which is the front and this side garden, but now we're going to head into the back. So come on. I'm going to let Jeff go through and then I'll close the door behind y'all because Buffy's in the back. You can show that willow tree whipping around. Okay, so massive storm coming through. So I hope that the wind's not too bad on my speaker. Buffy is out here. Here she comes. I know y'all are always excited to see her. She's struggling, y'all, but she keeps on going. Okay, so I'll get Jeff to come over this direction and I'll stand over here. But the back garden is probably the best it's ever looked. I'm really happy with how it's going. This is an entrance that we started. We added Mandeville vines from Costco, and they are already grown up to this height now. And they should continue to fill throughout the summer with some sunshine prism petunias at the base of them. These Mandeville vines are really pretty. They're kind of pricey vines, but I am going to be taking some cuttings and propagating them probably in about a month or so as exploring to see if it's something that I can also propagate to store over the winter and then get them started again. Now the garden back here faces south, so this is the west area, but the willow tree casts a lot of shade this direction, which is really nice. Now I'll get Jeff to come over this direction and I'll point out a few things. This bed back here is a lot of things that just go to reseed. Those larger lilies in the front are Oriental Casablanca lilies that are coming up, and I do have some Liatris coming up as well. I've also got some Queen Anne's lace coming up, and it reseeds itself each year, and it's really starting to fill in the space. I've let it go a little bit wilder than I typically do this year, but than I typically do in the past, but it's looking really nice. And then there's a ton of seedlings this way. Now when we get to right about here, the rest of the garden has not been really messed with this year. So this side garden right there's this back garden right here definitely needs some work. I will say though, the Don Juan roses are spectacular, as you can see. They're producing so many blooms and it smells absolutely amazing over here. And this is its 3rd year, the Don Juan climbing rose. It's looking really good. Now, these thinner vines climbing through it are Jackmani Clematis. I don't know if I'm going to get any blooms from it this year. I started this bare root last year, and it started at nothing at the base of the plant, and it has already grown to, I would say, at least 6 feet tall. And the goal is to eventually have purple clematis blooms blooming amongst these red Don Juan roses, which are absolutely stunning. They're looking really good. The bottom of this garden definitely has a lot of weeds in it. I haven't really dealt with it. It is on the list to handle, just haven't gotten to that point as of yet. Okay, so let's talk about some of the raised beds. These raised beds typically are more focused on cut flowers, and there's a lot going on here. This is more of a perennial bed. I have a ton of Forever Silver Status that I grew from seed that is filling in nicely. It hasn't given me blooms yet, but it's filling in really nicely. We also have all of these Rudbeckia plants, which are starting to put off blooms, which is really exciting. Those are beautiful. You even have some David's phlox tucked back here that's coming up. Lots of weeds, of course, even though this bed has been weeded twice this year already. Here we are with more weeds. That's all filling in nicely. Now right here is a perennial Veronica that I grew from seed. The seed was from Southern Seeds, and it's looking really, really good. This is some of it as well. And so last year it didn't really bloom much at all. This year it's giving me a lot more blooms. And this is pretty much the only Veronica that I've been able to get to grow in my garden. But like I said, I grew from seed, so it takes a couple of years. And this is Veronica all the way across. So this is another variety of the same type of Veronica. It's just going to be a different color, and that's Veronica. Lots of Veronica going on in this space, which is looking really nice. I definitely have a lot of zinnia seedlings coming up, which is looking really good as well. Now, shifting over to this bed, the main player you're going to see is the larkspur, which reseeds itself every year. This is absolutely beautiful, frothy, feathery, kind of fern-looking greenery, and then of course the beautiful purple blooms. And the deal will be is I don't want all of these to go to seed. I just want a few of them to go to seed to refill this bed. And then they're looking really good. And then here at the base, I have some Chinese forget-me-not that is starting to bloom. The palest, sweetest pale blue flowers. And it is a perennial in my area. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing this. It will grow much taller. This is its first year. I'm really looking forward to seeing this grow much more, and then having these pale, pale blue blooms to incorporate in my arrangements. Now, if Jeff pans over to his right, you're going to see a few delphiniums starting to bloom. I had some delphinium that I grew from seed that are blooming in there. I've also got a mix of, this is a green dragon cress that I've been trying to get out of my garden. I highly suggest not growing cress unless you want it everywhere. And there's also some bells of Ireland mixed in there. But this bed is, of course, I mean, come on. Look at me standing in front of this bed. I mean, it looks like I'm on an English countryside garden, right? Like, absolutely gorgeous. So really pleased with how that's going. Now, shifting over to this next bed is snapdragons that I planted in the fall and have overwintered. And needless to say, they are glorious. In fact, after Jeff and I finish filming this video, I'm going to come in here and do a massive harvest. They are glorious. These are Madame Butterfly bronze with white, which are absolutely ridiculously stunning, y'all. I believe this one is a summer lavender, which is really pretty. Over to the left, we have Madame Butterfly white as well. And the deal about snapdragons is they are cut and come again. So you have to continue to harvest them so that they continue to push more blooms. They will stop producing when we get to the hottest parts of the summer, but they will start producing a few more in the fall. But I'm really excited to get out and harvest these after this video. So continuing on now, right in front are a bunch of grow bags that I've got gladiolas growing in and stuff like that. Just heads up, I'm going to be deconstructing all of that once these glads bloom, and this is going to be a completely different setup there with containers. So we will be making a big change on that this summer. Now, glancing up over to the side is one of the new raised beds from last year, and I recently planted it up with a ton of perennials and annuals, a mix of purchasing some from the nursery, but also growing a lot of them myself, which is really exciting. And the goal of this bed, it looks nice and full right now, but the goal of this bed is to be wild, overflowing, tons of color, which I think we're already heading that direction. And even right here, I'm just kind of weaving in my Zephyrin climbing rose right here. It's already like tripled in size since I planted it. It's very happy, and eventually it will take over the whole lattice, which will be really nice. But I am really excited about a lot of these plants. The centerpiece of this bed is a Cestrum orange, orange zest. Which will be really beautiful, and it's a perennial and comes back every year. It's very large and can be trained as a tree. We also have some annual salvia. We've got some perennials like sedum in here, which is really nice, and agastache, or agastache, stacky, I can never say it right. Some beautiful starry eyes, Nirenbergia, and even some beautiful coreopsis. But this bed and the coordinating one on the other side, it's just going to be really fun to watch. I've even done simple things like, y'all, I've tucked in just like purple basil in some areas, which I think are really pretty. And here is a Bells of Ireland. Like, this is supposed to be a wild bed. I want to walk out of my back door and I want this bed to just be bursting with color and scent. And I think it's going to be really fun. Now, right over here to my side, and I think you can kind of see, this is a Mr. Lincoln tree standard. And the roses, the red roses are beautiful. It's very strong and growing very well. And I think, yes, there is a nest in here. I think this is my cardinal's nest. Although I've got a little bluebird up there on the fence. You see him, Jeff? Oh yeah, there's definitely a little nest in here. There's no, you can peek in here. There's no eggs in it. You see it in there? Beautiful little nest. Whatever bird made it did a really good job. So that's sweet. I think this might be the cardinal's nest because I haven't seen the female cardinal as much. The female cardinal is more of a brown color. You hear that? That's the male cardinal, and he's yelling at us. He is loud. You see him up there? He's at the very topmost branch in the center, bright red. And he is yelling at us because we are by his nest. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and shift positions to give him a little leadway. So continuing on, we had just looked at the Lincoln Rose. We have the structure here that I built last year, and we recently added some solar lanterns, which we're obsessed with. You love them, right, babe? Yeah, they're great. And this structure is really pretty. And we planted 2 new climbing roses from bare root on this arch. So we're going to have the Zephyrin Drohin coming up and over, and it's a much more vigorous grower than the other one. So it should go up and almost all the way over. And then on the right hand side, we've got the Eden Climber, which is only about maybe 8 to 10 feet. So it should go up and partially over. But pretty much this time next year, these climbing roses should be about to here. And then the following year, they should cover. Which would be absolutely glorious. I'm not going to lie, absolutely glorious. So now we've got the 2 vintage urns that we planted up. Gosh, it might be 4 weeks ago now. And these urns are stunning. So we'll look at this one right here. We have a centerpiece of a Eugenia topiary that I purchased from Home Depot, which is absolutely glorious. And we ended up surrounding it with all plants that I grew from seed. So I'm completely obsessed. So right here we have the tickle pink cascading, or actually climbing petunia, and the goal is that it comes down like 3 to 4 feet, which it's already on its way. I've got 3 of those tucked in there. I've got some Snowtopia bacopa, which I also grew from seed, which is really beautiful. We have some geraniums tucked in here. Some dianthus. This is Kirigami oregano. Which is it's an ornamental oregano, but it's doing beautiful in here. And then you can see running into the next tickled pink petunia, and an apple blossom geranium up here, which is gorgeous. But these topiaries are spectacular. Topiaries and urns are spectacular. I love them. They are just filling in and filling in, and once these petunias start draping over the side, and you can see they're almost ready. They're almost ready to start spilling. These are just glorious, and I get to see them every day in my garden. So I'll get Jeff to pan to his right so you can see the other one, which is doing equally as beautiful, filling in great. Very happy with how they're going. You can see the petunias are really reaching. I can see that these petunias, they're going to climb up through the topiary, which is fine too. The petunias won't last forever and ever. But I do have these urns hooked up to drip irrigation, so I did want to point that out. I don't have to come and water them, but I'm really pleased with how they turned out. It'll be fun to see how long these last, and then of course, you know, adapt them for the summer, because petunias don't do great in our area for the summer, but who knows, maybe if I'm on top of this and I cut these back, they'll do really nice. Looks like we have a new geranium blooms coming up right there, which is very exciting. But these urns really make it in this space. They create a grand entrance, and I just really, really have enjoyed them and look forward to continuing to adjust them for each of the seasons. Now, in front of me, I still have lots of flats of flowers, and there were some back there. I think I'm down to about 8 flats of flowers from the ones I grew. I had over 30. And those were just the ones here, and I took a bunch of them to Kristen as well. Super proud of all the flowers that I grew from seed this year. I'm continuing inside, continuing to grow seeds. In fact, this week I'm starting birdhouse gourds, I'm starting marigolds, and I'm starting hyacinth bean vines, and I'll have a video up on that. But all this space is just beautiful. I cannot wait to get the rest of these in the garden. Very, very excited. We're going to shift over towards the right. Now, this bed right here is the end of my ranunculus bed. I had a great ranunculus harvest this year. I planted these in the fall, overwintered them outside, and we had a beautiful harvest. I probably already harvested over 50 blooms, and you can see there's still a few more going. I still have a few more blooms, which are beautiful, but I'm pretty much done harvesting these at this point. And we are getting to the point where you can already see these starting to brown and yellow and die back, and that is because we've already had, you know, days in the 90s already. So we'll probably give this a couple more weeks. Once all of the foliage really starts to die back, we will dig up all of these ranunculus. I will store them inside, and then we will replant this bed, most likely with a mix of, I'm thinking basil, marigolds, zinnias, sunflowers, things along those lines I think will be really nice. Okay, so we're over here on the coordinating bed on the other side. Now, they're coordinating, they're not matching. They have similar plants and some different combinations of plants. And then also I forgot to say, both of these beds I planted up with Casablanca lilies and gladiolas. So they do have, probably each of them have 30 bulbs in them as well. More towards the center because the bulbs I put in here are more tall, but it'll be beautiful for cut flowers. You can also see my Eden climber is very happy and growing beautifully over here. This space is really nice. So panning this direction, I'm going to have Jeff step back and focus on this cut flower bed right here. This is all, the word I can't, Lisianthus. God, I couldn't think of the word. This is all Lisianthus that I have grown from seed, y'all. And I'm obsessed. And you can already see some of these new plants. Like this is one plant right here. It's probably putting off 8 stems of blooms in one plant. I am so excited. But I did a whole bed of Lisianthus this year, and I cannot wait to see how it ends up turning out. I'm really, really excited. I haven't done much in this bed at all. I do need to come in and do some clipping and cleaning up a little bit, probably add in some mulch, and I'll probably also put maybe some sunflowers in between these rows of Lisianthus. Lisianthus are highly sought after blooms in the florist community. One stem probably goes for $5 wholesale, so the markup of that is probably about $15 per stem for what florists sell them for. Now, I'm not selling these. I'm just really excited to have couture blooms. So this is going to be super fun. Grew these all from seed last year, and I'm really excited. I also feel like now that I'm seeing this, that there's more room, so we could start more from seed and fill in these negative spaces, and this entire bed could be Lisianthus for us next year. So really excited about harvesting these. Now, moving over here towards the right, we have another raised bed, and this is my only raised bed that does not currently have cut flowers in it. It has eggplants, which are doing beautifully. I took down all of these fences while I was planting up this bed. And in the meantime, my armadillo friend showed back up. We're not friends though, let's just be honest. And he did a lot of digging up in here. So I did put the fences back up to hopefully keep him out of here now. And the rabbit that was here is now gone. There's a hole there and that rabbit has moved on. I had no idea where the rabbit went, but the rabbit did not spend any time eating any of these seedlings, so that's great. And I am dealing with a little bit of an aphid infestation, particularly on this particular eggplant, which is pumpkin on a stick, which is not an edible eggplant. It's an ornamental eggplant. I'm dealing with some white aphids on it. However, we have a lot of rain coming, which will be very helpful. And I do see a lot of insects climbing all over this, eating them. So that's important to know. So this side is pumpkin on a stick. This side is Black Beauty. The Black Beauty are edible, and they're looking beautiful. It's actually already putting off blooms. So that's very exciting. I also tucked in a few lantanas, and I'm going to tuck in some more lantanas, but I tucked in a few lantanas in this area to add some color. I might do a few more. We'll have to see. But while Jeff is here, I'll step back and we'll look at this area. Oh, I got a random cane all the way down here that I got to work up in there. So this is the heirloom chrysanthemum bed that we reworked this year. It's looking really pretty. I did have some peonies that are at the end over there, but I have my Julia Child, which is starting to bloom beautifully over here. And then all of this is heirloom chrysanthemums. We came in and cleaned it out. We fertilized. I made sure that all my peony hoops were looking good. Looks like we got some massive aphid issues over here, but I'm truthfully not going to stress about it. We're about to get multiple days of rain, and the aphids are going to be very unhappy with that. They like dry conditions. Couple of containers filled with annuals that I grew from seed, looking beautiful. And then over here, the America Climbing Rose is on its way. So the goal is for this climbing rose to grow up and over the entrance to the shade garden. You can see it's putting on its giant coral blooms. And I had cut this back significantly. It's looking really, really nice. This grows about 12 feet. So it should go all the way up towards the central point at its full height. But this is looking really pretty. I really like the color of the coral with the color that we used for the stain on here. I think looks really, really nice. This garden though, this heirloom chrysanthemum garden, is the best it's ever looked. And I attribute that to actually taking the time to come in here earlier this season, clean it up, add some decorative elements, and make it a little bit more fun. But it's looking really nice. Now, we're going to skip the shade garden for right now because I'm going to go this way, then we're going to look at the back porch, and then we're going to go to the shade garden. Now here's my lemon tree, which I thought had died in the greenhouse, but here it is coming back, doing good work over here. So I've got a tag that looks like it's kind of like strangling the greenery over here. Let me adjust that a little bit. It's coming back. Whether or not I'm going to actually have blooms this year to actually produce lemons, I'm not sure. I might end up cutting out this central portion and then allowing it to continue to grow. Let me go let her inside. Okay, shifting this direction over to peppers. There definitely looks like there's been some guys hanging out, having a grand old time on these peppers. I probably need to do some trimming, but it is putting off, oh yeah, we're seeing the first of our fruits. Okay, so it is putting off blooms, and I am seeing some small fruits. We have a combination of cayenne peppers, cubanelle peppers, and emerald giants. So those are a bell pepper. So bell pepper, a sweet pepper, and then cayenne peppers that I'm hoping to dry and create my own cayenne seasoning for chili and such. That's looking really good. Now, we're going to move backward. I'm going to show you the ugly, because there is ugly. Anybody whose garden is not ugly in some places, they're lying. All right. This is a hot mess over here. I've got a container that has no holes. It's literally just filled with water. It's terrible. Jeff and I have been slowly but surely taking these containers and putting them into other areas of the garden so that we can actually use them, which is really, really fun. This is all a hot mess of stuff over here. I do have one container right here. It's not currently set up to drip, but it's doing pretty good considering. We are getting to the end. It had a bunch of daffodils in it, and then a bunch of violas, which are doing beautifully. And then it has a contorted filbert tree, which is putting on its new leaves for the season, and very, very happy. I will eventually get this set up to drip before we get to hot weather, and there will be a collection of other containers at this location. We just haven't gotten to this space yet. Okay, so back corner of the garden, also not looking spectacular, but I will say that my Japanese snowball viburnum finally bloomed this year. Its blooms are done, but I was so excited to see it bloom this year. And this eventually will be all garden back here. We'll continue building it up. I had this big idea that I was going to build this back garden during the winter that ended up not happening. So we'll have to look at it later on this season. I'm taking a few looks. I might see a little bit of some of the perennials I planted coming back up there. Coming across here, you're going to see a few moonshine yarrow coming through, some verbascum, which are really pretty. But the stars of the show right now are Clematis. And this is going to be the first, well, we did look at the Jackmani, which is not blooming. So this is the second of 5 clematis varieties of clematis that I have in my garden. This one right here is HF Young. And just for reference on size of the blooms, I have giant man hands and they are huge. This was started from a tiny bare root from Lowe's or Home Depot years ago. And I love it for its purple blooms, and then its red fronds in the center are just absolutely lovely. Even when it's finished blooming, it's very cool. Let me see if I can show a seed head. So here's a seed head after it blooms over here, sweetie, which looks very cool as well. But, you know, this clematis, I've never pruned on it, never done anything to it, y'all, just left it. And it was a tiny, shriveled little vine, not more than 3 inches tall a few years ago. And it is just filled in beautifully. And it will give me an additional flush. This flushes twice. Right now it's flushing on new growth. And then I have a few buds starting to come up. It will flush on old growth as well. But very, very pretty. I also have a verbascum at the base of this that's coming up. Oh, that was obedient plant over there. This is a verbascum over here. Really, really pretty. Now moving this direction, right here in the center is my American Beautyberry. I did a dramatic cutback on it this year, and I'm really glad I did. Last year I did not cut back as much as I needed, and it ended up flopping and the whole center of the plant was exposed. So feeling much better about it. And then moving on this direction is an Oh So Easy Urban Legend Rose, which bloomed a little bit on some old growth out here, but we have a lot of new growth because I did a dramatic cutback on it, and it is putting off a ton of new buds. So I would give it about 3 weeks and we'll have a massive flush of blooms that are that vibrant kind of orangey red color, which is lovely. And then they age to a darker pink tone. Now here's the third clematis in my garden, and this is a Dr. Rupel, which is lovely, and it has gotten to the point where it's spilling that direction, this direction, and up. Absolutely gorgeous. It was started at the same time as the HF Young clematis over there from bare root, and I'm telling y'all I paid $5. $5 for this bare root, and yes, I had to wait a long time, but I mean, it's just glorious. I'll bring Jeff in. Let me show y'all some of these in different stages of the blooms. So here's a newer open bloom. These are the newer open blooms. Oh, here's a really newer open bloom. So it starts with a deeper color, and then it fades to this, and then it fades even lighter like that. and then eventually it starts to drop its petals, and it just leaves this beautiful seed head, which is beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Here's some of the newer ones coming up. So I love the different shades of color. I think are really nice. And truthfully, right now, y'all, there's so many still blooms. There's got to be 30 additional blooms on here still that have not even opened. And the most I do for this, I don't trim on this one either. You can definitely prune clematis. I've put them in a place in my garden where I forget about them, so I forget to prune them. So just so you know, your clematis can look like this with no pruning, which is really exciting. The most I do is throw a handful of slow release fertilizer over here, and that's about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch positions with Jeff. Okay, so I'm standing in what's going to be the new garden. And I keep saying that, but I haven't done a lot. But I've done a lot of other stuff. It's not like I'm doing nothing. So it does have a desert orchid, or also known as chitapa. I don't know if I'm saying it right. Let me look. Yeah, chitapa, that I planted last year. That's doing really good and will grow to be a feature in this garden. It grows to 5 to 8 feet tall. So it should fill in this space very nicely here. I'll probably still have some kind of trellis in the back. I'm not sure I'm going to keep these. I might end up building wood trellises to match some of the other ones that I've got. But this will be the centerpiece for this garden. And then I will work out all the way to where you see the digging area. And then truthfully, this garden will grow across the whole back of the yard. It is not going to be a fast thing. I am bound and determined to do it myself. By that, I mean with my husband and my children to help me. We don't want to hire it out. And I want to do it for inexpensive. So I've been collecting free stones and rocks and stuff like that to build our little quote unquote retaining wall. The retaining wall doesn't actually have to be that high. It really just needs to come to about maybe 18 inches total, and that includes the amount that's in the ground. And that'll allow us to level off some of the soil, which will be really nice. And then another container back here. There's not a lot going back here. It just has some old iris, things like that. It looks like I got a hydrangea back here that didn't make it over the winter, but this area will eventually all be developed. We'll eventually have a beautiful shade garden under here, which I'll be really excited about. So speaking of shade garden, let's go ahead and do the back porch, and then we'll end with the shade garden because it's spectacular. Okay, so I don't know if this video is going to be out before this tour, but right here, I did do a whole plant up of containers with a mixture of some perennials, specifically some hydrangeas I got, and a mixture of items that I grew from seed as well. Now, hydrangeas, these are the hydrangeas that you typically see during Mother's Day. They put out for, 15, 20 bucks, whatever. Typically they're just brought inside use and they die and people throw them away. I've actually bought these on clearance multiple times and ended up growing them outside. It's a little bit of a struggle, but once they get established and they're happy, they do really, really well. So I did pick up a few of these to add. I would love to have some hydrangeas growing in under this back porch in a shaded area. I think they'll do beautiful. But yeah, this is a really pretty combination. Even have some peonies over here. And then I'll get Jeff to follow me this direction to this side, and we have potted up this side as well. And Jeff helped me earlier in the year. We originally had all these shelves right here with the pots, and we ended up cutting down the shelves and moving them in between the house and a column. And I'm very pleased with it. I think it's doing really, really well. And it's been a very successful move, and it's really opened up a lot of the porch, which is nice. But this is looking really good. I'll get Jeff to come for a close-up of this Garden Wonder dahlia that I've got going right here, because it's spectacular. It is grown from a tuber that I got from Costco. Really, really beautiful color. I love red. And actually, as he backs up, I love the view of these pots with the Don Juan. Hold on, slow up, Jeff. Shift this way. And then go up so we can see the Don Juan rose. So you can see the Don Juan rose growing behind the pots. And I really love that view. I think it's just really, really pretty, and layers, lots of layers is really the direction that we're going. Now, the baskets that I planted up with all things that I grew myself from either propagation or from seed are filling in nicely, and they are beginning to drape. And the goal with all of this Swedish ivy, the tradescantia, the tickle me pink petunias is for these to just basically end up covering the baskets and just be these massively draping beautiful pieces. And those are looking really nice. Back porch done. Let's end with the shade garden. So this is my path to the shade garden during the days. Now I will say I came over here the other day and I started to reach my hand in to lift up the knob, and there was a giant like yellow jacket sitting here. So I do need to peek and look before I do that. So reach through, and we'll let Jeff work his way into the garden slowly, and I'll talk at the back. So the shade garden is just next level. It's really starting to fill in beautifully, and it definitely is a secret garden feel when you come into the space. And that's just the back half. We haven't even done the front half. Like, I need to come out and plant a bunch of things. So I'm really excited. But things are really starting to fill in. First of all, I have my beautiful Japanese maple, which is doing beautiful over here. I believe it's a Crimson Queen. I could be wrong. I probably need to look that up. And underneath it, I have tons of my beautiful hydrangeas coming through to fruition. These are the Mother's Day hydrangeas, the hydrangeas I was talking to you guys about, that they're basically grown in greenhouses, like hothouses. And, you know, a lot of times people say you can't do anything with them. I was able to do something with them. I have them in a very shaded location. And this right here, every single one of these puffs you see right here is going to be a flower. It will be spectacular. This whole area will be filled in and beautiful. I'd love to plant something at the base of my what do you call it? Japanese maple, but we'll get to there. The Japanese maple is gorgeous, and I love doing exactly what I hoped it would do, create an umbrella canopy in this spot. I think it's really nice. Now, shifting over this direction, I've got my sweet little Facebook Marketplace statue tucked back in here. And if you follow the channel, you probably recently saw me plant up this tiered planter, which is actually filling in beautifully with a combination of perennials and annuals and a ton of beautiful tuberous begonias. This one right here is apple blossom, which is absolutely beautiful. This tradescantia sauna, which is lovely, and several other different varieties of plants that I'm kind of testing to see how they do in the area. Back here, this container right here is my dicentra. I almost said dichondra. Dicentra, or bleeding hearts, that I grew from roots that is coming back. And, or actually, this is a stilbe. This is the dicentra over here. So the stilbe is coming back, so we'll see if we get some blooms. I started a whole bunch of Astilbe from bare root last year, as well as bleeding heart. If they end up being successful, because I didn't buy any this next year, I wanted to see if these did come back successfully and if they produce blooms. If they do, it's game on, y'all. Next year, we are doing all the Astilbe, all the bleeding hearts. We're going to go bonkers. Now, moving forward is my leopard plant right here. I thought it had died, and it did. I mean, it died down to just this down here. Y'all see all this yuckiness? Like, that's what it looked like. And I thought it was gone, and then sure enough, boom. It's all coming back, looking beautifully. I've got some other additional, I've got a spotted leopard plant that we're going to be adding to the garden, which is going to be beautiful. And actually, as Jeff can pan to the ground and then up on the workbench, and these are all new plants that you will see upcoming videos of all these new plants going into the shade garden. I've collected them from nurseries and from some of those plant sales I've been to, and some of them I've grown myself. Just really excited and proud to get going on all those and get those planted up. Okay, so moving on to this section right here, we have an oak leaf hydrangea. And I know there was so much concern when I put in this oak leaf hydrangea. Kristen gave this to me. And I know there was a lot of concern. It's too big for the space and all that kind of stuff. Y'all, the goal is for this sucker to grow all the way up and canopy over and create a canopy for the space. So I'm thrilled with it. I can also prune it. Like if I don't like this errant branch, I can prune it back. But y'all see what I see at the end of here? we're going to have our first oak leaf hydrangea blooms this year. Super excited. I love how I've got my mermaid sculpture tucked in here. It'd be very beautiful. We're going to be coming in, and all the rest of the soil you see is going to get filled in. This container is just going to be overflowing with plants. Now, let's talk more clematis. This is its first spring in here, and this is a bell-to-woking clematis. Absolutely beautiful. The blooms are luxurious. So many row after row after row of petals. Absolutely gorgeous. And this is its growth in 1 year. Very, very exciting. Loving how it's looking. And then shifting over to this clematis, which is called Bee's Jubilee. Coming up, not as much growth, but still beautiful. I actually think it looks really similar to Dr. Rupel. With that in mind, I'm sure I'll keep it, but I wouldn't mind adding something else in here that's a little bit different. And then down below it is a Dicentia or bleeding heart that is supposed to be nice and big, to about 3 feet. And the idea that it would fill in this space would be absolutely lovely, very exciting. And I have the remnants of some hellebore as well. Okay, so this is the area of the shade garden that is not done, and that is what we're going to work on. We got to redo this. The armadillo ripped up all of the towels that were in here. I've got a massive container with no drainage holes that's filled with water that I can't move myself. I need help moving. And I have a collection of containers over here which are going to get filled with a lot of those new plants that we were just talking about. And then eventually the idea is that we have enough vines and such on the back side of this, the climbing roses and such, that it will cast even more shade in this direction. So that is the ultimate goal here. But the shade garden is really coming along, especially the side that y'all are currently standing in is absolutely beautiful. The goal is for it to be secret garden, jungle, wild, green, lush, and feel cooler than it actually is outside. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed the tour. It's beautiful here in April. May is going to be even prettier. June's going to be pretty, and then it's going to get hot. And we're going to have hot summer blooms, and then we'll get back to fall. But everything is happy and it's growing. I have so much on my plate, a lot to do. And so I just want to remind all the gardeners, you're not alone. We all have a ton of stuff to do, and it will get done when it gets done. That just really is how it is. I also encourage you, you don't have to go buy all the plants. It's super fun. But you can grow a lot of things from seed and bear root and save yourself some of the money. I would say 75 to 80% of my garden was grown from seed or bare root, and feeling pretty proud about that because it has allowed me to have a far more expensive garden the way it looks than what I could actually afford. So very, very exciting. As always, make sure you like and comment on the video. Every time you like and comment, it helps grow the video so much. And if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, just drop me an emoji below, letting me know that you made it to the end of the video and you say hi. And be sure to jump over and check out my Patreon community. It is all things gardening and all things She's a Mad Gardener. I love it. It is the only place that I am doing social media posts at this point. It just feels happy and it feels safe, and I can talk about the good things and the not so great things happening in my garden. There is a free tier, and we have over 100 people on the free tier, and then there are additional paid tiers. The higher up you are in the tiers, the more access you get, including exclusive videos that are not available anywhere else except through Patreon, participating in group chats, sharing photos. It's really, really great. Now we're all in positive time. Everybody is sharing pictures of, oh, this is growing, and oh, this is growing. I know know that there will soon be a shift to issues, and that's what I'm really looking forward to with the Patreon community, is being able to talk about issues and problems that I'm having in my garden and being able to talk to others who might have similar issues or advice regarding those, but I'm doing it in a very closed, safe setting. So really love that. The link to the Patreon community is down in the video description below. As always, she's a mad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.